Hello, everyone watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. It's another episode of NRG Insights. For those that don't know, this is a podcast just in regards to the insights into financial services. So all the exciting things in broking, lending, and all the ancillary products. And at the moment, we're doing a kind of a mini series. We've just finished our Rising Stars, where it was really kind of informative about getting young people in and how that looked. And now we're going on to onto a sales into sales management series, which is a look at this kind of the pain points we have in this industry of people coming in and moving up the ladder into that management side of things, and the reason why it's so tough. So today I've got Jamie from MS Lending. Thanks for joining me, Jamie.
How you doing, Marcus? You well?
Good. Second time on, slightly more positive this time. We're not talking about health. We're talking about good stuff. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I've not had a heart attack in 2 years. I'm doing good.
That's bonus. Yeah.
Look at the positives.
It's already
No, but
positive.
over at MS Lending Group now. So yeah, everything's really good. Thank you.
Good. So tell me, or tell the people that don't know if they've been living under a rock. Tell us what you do, and then your career through sales into that kind of management.
Yeah, I saw the other day that there was a young people in Bridging. I thought I'm not getting
You get an
invited to
invite.
that on my own.
A bloody sponsor.
No, well, I'm not getting invited. I'm not getting invited. So I've been in financial services. I'm going to stop even in 5 years when you interview me. I'm still going to go for 25 years. So I've been in 25 years now.
I stopped at 15. I've never gone above it.
Specialist now for 15, probably more, 15 years. And most recently, I suppose, over the last at Precise Mortgages, where I was at Precise Mortgages for 7 years, and we did great things there. I managed the bridging team after Gareth Lewis left, but really until I got to Glen Hawk, that was where it was fully bridging, and now over at MS Lending Group, fully bridging. So fully bridging for the last probably 5-6 years. Nice. In that sense.
And obviously the reason we're talking, we've talked about this personally as well, because it always that struggle. Talk to me about that transition that you have to go through from being like that soul-minded BDM type into that sales management where you're thinking about other people.
I talk it from both perspectives, because I was a BDM and I'd like to think half decent one, when I was at Principality, and then I was still really BDMing. I think you're always BDMing in a certain fashion.
Everyone CEO down is still originating, aren't they? But
God, it's about relationships.
Yeah.
But this is why I loved when you posted the other day, because I believe a BDM should be selfish in certain respects. They're looking after themselves, their targets, and lots of them don't really have that aspiration to become a leader or the leader of teams. And I think the area that then you get into is that people think that a great salesperson, then the next role should be leading the team.
Yeah.
And the two things don't marry. Just like a footballer doesn't make a good manager, Wayne Rooney and others, in there and that. But there's a few of them that just can't actually lead teams. So I think what
is it though? What is it that is the kind of defining? I'm going to ask everyone these same questions, but they're like the defining skill set that you think makes a difference from you rising up the ranks, like you say, to that salesman, and some people, and also it isn't for everyone, is it? So it's not the end of the world. It feels like the manager has to be the next level, but you can just be a fantastic BDM, can't you?
You may have been, when you were the BDM, you may have been the ego. Now you've got to manage the egos. You've got to manage the performance. You've got to manage the underperformance. You've got to make it not about you, about the team. So when you're on the patch, it's about you and being the person who brings the calls, does the emails, answering stuff, being the best, adding value. And you've got to do that in your leadership role, but you've got to add value to your team first and foremost, and you've got to note how to coach them, get the best out of them, and try and make it about the team. So actually the team wins, and it's less about you. So ego. If you've got an ego as a leader, it's got to go and be put in a box.
It's tough, isn't it? Because you've started your career in a relatively ego-driven environment as a salesperson. So then to make that shift, out of interest, do you think that is a personality trait, or do you think that can be taught?
What, the leadership stuff?
Wanting to help. Yeah, leadership, managing people.
And wanting to help.
Wanting to help, Steve, probably not right, is it? Because you're still helping.
No, but it is. It's wanting to get the most.
Being more driven by other people's success.
I think it's something in your character, isn't it? Because I used to say, and I still will do now, for anybody, I loved when I had people in my team that did want to be and running their own teams. And I used to say, great, I don't expect them to do anything that I would never do. I always say that line, and I don't. So I'll always try and find out, when I came up to MS Lending Group, how to do everyone's role in my team. Because then I can do it and show them and actually see if there's inefficiencies, this, that, the other, and do it. But I get a real buzz of people actually achieving, because guess what? The company then achieves.
Yeah,
so I could still have my ego and be my originator and say I know everybody. I could then become possibly the worst BDM known then, because they'll go, well, I didn't see you in my office for 3 months. I'm like, well, yeah, because I'm here, there, and everywhere.
yeah.
And also, I can only manage I'm really good at managing my time and sort of time chunking and doing that. However, there's only one of me, and I can only work till midnight some days and do that, which is unhealthy, as we know.
Yeah.
But if I can get 5 people, 6 people doing that as well, not working till 12, but being efficient, having those relationships, perfect.
Do you think
We
there's
all
an
win
element
together.
of that you had to have been a good BD to do it, or do you think that actually you might be able to, like you say, management is a bit of a calling, and you just got to be good with people? I think, like you say, it helps that you know everything, right? It helps that you know what they do for a living and how all their problems as well. But do you think it's kind of mandatory?
I'm thinking that if you've got a BDM, I'm thinking from the BDM's perspective, and you've got someone that swans in who was maybe out of industry, or maybe they came from a different department, not to upset any of those departments, with no sales background, the BDM's going to go, you don't know what I do, you can't do what I've done, you haven't walked the walk. Do I think it's possible to come in and take out a sort of different cognitive thought to it? Absolutely. So I don't think you have to be the best salesperson, but I think you really do need to understand relationships, the brokers, not all of them and know them all, but knowing how they operate, how a broker business operates, knowing how the solicitors, all these things. So as long as you know that and got an idea how to, because we all sell, all of us sell, by the way, every department sells. I always say I sell to my family, I sell to my sons all the time, reasons they
Tell
need to
my
do
wife
something.
every day not to leave. So same thing.
You got to leave that party early the other night, though.
That's for another podcast. So back to kind of managing it, and this is not disparaging to BDs. I hope they listen to this and don't think it, but like, it's a high pressure, well paid, fairly ego driven job. How do you go about? We've gone through the transition of it, but how do you go about managing that? What's the kind of process to get? You like stuff to football earlier on. It's very similar in regards to they're integral to the business, but they're also it's quite an ego driven business.
You got your superstars in there and all that. How I deal with sort of ego and all that is to always find out what motivates them individually. So I manage all the team individually and then collectively, but all individually. So I'll deal with that one footballer different to that other footballer in that respect, yeah. But my job is to always see if I can get that extra 10% from them in different ways. So I've done this before. I'm always about analogies. So, if I always find out what they're comfortable in their circle and where their comfort zones are. And I remember with a few, I've gone, right, I've got a presentation next week. Do you want to go and do it? Because I'll be somewhere else. And I can see them go, ooh, and I go, right, that's outside their comfort zone. Right, now we know where I can take them in that. Yeah. So it's always, even if they have got that ego or superstar status, how they can even become better.
Yeah, because everyone can improve, right? And I suppose it's
everyone
managing that as well.
Everyone can improve, and I think the best salesperson is the one who knows that they've got room to improve, do better, and as long as you've got that willingness, then you're coachable.
Yeah. So on the other hand, obviously the superstars, that getting that 10% up. How would you say management style when it comes to people doing that first BDM job, or people, is it still the same process, or when they're coming in and they're fresh and they're kind of new to the business? Because it's a bit of a baptism of fire with BD, isn't it? Because you win or you don't.
Look, you can't want to run before you can walk. So with your new BDMs, you can't expect them, if they've come in even really really sort of young or not experienced in anything rigid. You've got to get that foundations of product, of the knowledge has got to go in, and all those things. You've hopefully already identified that they've got a good attitude for the job, because why would you have hired them anyway? But you can't sort of suddenly go, right, let me give you 25 years of experience into you now, and go and run with it. Go on, go. You've got to handhold them. And this is one of the fundamental points I think you can come on to in this whole series is that I don't think enough onboarding's done for two ways. Done for the salespeople, and you expect them just to fail straight away.
Yeah.
That's what you're setting them up for,
It's
failure.
that mentality, isn't it, in sales, isn't it? You get it or you don't, and that's kind of sink or swim. We've always been that kind of inclined that way.
There is. And bridging is dog eat dog. Do you know what I mean? You know, you have to perform quickly, but how do you get that onboarding done? How have you identified what their coaching need is, their style is, even though I could be coaching them in a way that they don't even absorb it. So I find out that. But my other points...
Do you spot that when, you know, like I've got one way of doing stuff, and I know that like I don't work well with like super analytical people because we don't connect that well because I'm very emotional. Do you as a sales manager, and it's a great trait if you can, because I don't, but do you spot that early? Do you see like, okay, this isn't resonating with them? Do you manage to kind of have to mix up your styles?
Yeah, 100%. I've done that, and I've got examples that I do that with. So I think that comes from background of training and doing NLP, so neuro linguistic programming, easy for a Welshman to say, so NLP. But the NLP stuff and seeing it from their map of the world, if they're not taking it in or getting it after some sort of little, let's call them tests, you know, of this, that, the other, then I'll change the style in it. And it's about I'll ask them, how did you learn best when you've done the last thing you've learned? Or even, you know, school or those qualifications, if you can't think about school like my age. Those different things that you go to, and how do they absorb things the best? You know, and if it is in little chunks and they're not analytical, then give them it in little chunks. Don't give them a whole credit report to read or credit Bible to read. You've got to chunk it down to what they receive. What I do, if I'm doing, say, presentation training, I call it word patterns. For all my BDMs that have already worked for me have just rolled their eyes. Word patterns, word patterns, word patterns. But it's about being able to say a load of the things that MS Lending Group do without thinking about it. But I'll record them for them because they're in the car. So if they listen to a lot of podcasts and they love it, and they've told me about podcasts or whatever, or I've listened to Marcus's, I'll record something so they can listen to it in the car rather than read it. So I'll do that sort of style for them, you know, and different things, just so they can absorb it. Or if it's more picture, you know, there's loads of ways to do it. But yeah, I do identify that. The other point I was going to come on to, by the way, is
sorry, I jumped in.
When you say about training, there's a lack of training for leadership.
Yeah.
So who's training the people to be leaders?
There's not that many leaders to learn from. I was talking to someone the other day, similar age to you, similar level, and they were saying, who are the people in front of us? And I'm like, well, they're mostly retired. I could probably only name 3 or 4. So I mean, I'll let you talk about it. Sorry, I jumped in again, but it is there is a lack of mentorship at the top side of things as well. But what talk to me about that? Talk to me about that kind of sales training for leadership.
I can't even think that, you know, and I'm not doing them disservice because they were absolutely amazing, you know, at Precise back in the day, you know, with, you know, the likes of Alan and Roger. But Roger never sat me down and said, right, this is how you delegate, this is how you motivate your team, this is how you coach, this is how you do accountability. None of that. It was that, I'm thinking far enough away to now say, I was texted one day and said, you're head of sales. I thought, oh, that was a good interview process.
Yeah.
And I know there's 2 people who will listen to this that were very thoroughly annoyed about that at the time. But you learn the mistakes a lot. The way that you then train, I suppose, that they've identified something in you that they think that you can lead and manage yourself. So by that way, you can actually learn how to do it on the job. And I've always been a great believer in, you know, you never fail, you just find a way of never doing it that way again. But, you know, I've failed loads of ways along the route. But my biggest fault was always delegating. Thinking that I could do it all myself and not delegating
you can't
it out.
Too much on. We've had a podcast about that. But it's true, isn't it? Yeah. It's too easy.
Yeah.
And I do understand why people don't delegate, right? Because, again, the detriment to me and probably to my team, I'm not a great coach because I know I've got a coach and she makes me do stuff until I get it. Whereas I can think, like, I can do that in 2 minutes. It's much easier if I help. And I feel like I'm helping, but actually I know it's a detriment to other people's careers because they're not actually learning. But it's a skill.
I can delegate now. I can delegate much better than I was, and some people listening to this will go, "Wow, okay, you know that must be 1% who's doing that." But I do delegate. I do delegate. What I used to find really, really hard was that I think loads of people, and I've got the history to show it. I'm bloody hard working. Do you know what I mean? And I always think that I can fit more in the day than the average because how I chunk time. I'm always thinking in the car how to do these things, and I'm working. I'm trying to work, and that means I'm working smarter. I used to find it hard that someone wasn't, when I first started out, as ambitious as me, or as, as driven maybe as me and all that. And I still want them driven, but I think COVID's taught us a lot about this balance thing that we've always
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about,
And
which I
people are
still
motivated
talk to.
different as well, right? Especially generationally. It's a
Yeah.
different ball game now. You can't just look at someone and go, I want for me.
Yeah, well, God, there used to be, 4 nights away, out a week and 4 nights away from home and doing this, and I don't want to be away from home, but this is how you party in the night time. Well, I don't really want that. I want,
Yeah, yeah.
this,
A
that, and you're like,
balance.
oh.
So just in regards to that, what do we do about it? Like as an industry, as individual companies, because we are seeing fewer leaders come through. I think it's fair to say. I think there was just a big chunk at one point. But what do we need to do to? Push is the wrong word as well. You can't push people into leadership. What do we need to do to train people up or make them aware of, like, oh, actually, I do have that skill set. Oh, I do enjoy doing that. What's the answer?
I think you really got to go back individually and find out what they really want to do by certain ages. So the simplest form that I'll always say is that if I'm sat with someone, I say, here's your 0 to 10. What's your ambitions now as a BDM role? I want to, I don't know, buy this house. I want to buy this whatever. I want more holidays and all that. I get them to the level where they can go for that. But aside to that, you're going, where are we on this? And I hate the expression, where's your 5-year plan and all that. But at some point, they're either going to get bored and taken away by another lender. That's your job, Marcus, to unsettle people and get them to other lenders. But it's my job to keep them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I can show them a direction of, do you want to be doing this forever? Some of them say yes. Leadership. It's my job then to actually create them then and sort of drip in and say, these are some of the parts of my job. Do you want to take one bit of that, for me? And that's delegating, but it
How do you
actually gets
rabbit
them used to
hole?
doing it.
Sorry, mate. How do you rabbit hole down that leadership question? Because if I interview 20 people, 19 will say, if I say about 5-10 year plan, they'll say leadership. Because I just think that's what sometimes people, you just think it's the obvious next step. You don't actually think about leadership. You think
They
about, like,
think
oh,
it
I'll be
is
a
because
manager.
they think it's more money and all that. Your job at that moment is to try and put them off it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is show them what it looks like, and it may be that, and if you show them all the things that come with it and, what they enjoy about their job at the moment, and some of them may go, yeah, I still want it. I want, do we call it status? I'm not sure, but do you want, they want the status? They feel the control, because
Status is the
I'm
wrong
sure
leadership model, isn't it? Like the want to help
everyone's going to come
people.
on, by the way. Everyone is going to come on, and I'm sure to a man and lady, they're going to say, leadership is quite lonely,
Yeah, yeah.
by the way. It gets quite lonely, role, and all the things, you've got responsibilities coming in and pressure from there. I keep myself up at night by people, maybe could they have done more that day and done more here, or how could I help them more in that situation?
Yeah.
So, that's quite pressure from everywhere that you do. How can we do it with them and bring it up? Is that it's the whole way of trying to show them exactly what it is. What do they think it is? What do they think leadership
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
What are the things they think it does? Get them to write it out, and then you add on the other 200 things you've got to do that week, and just say, how would you actually measure that? But you're not trying to scare them off. The same way again,
You've
that
got to want it,
0
though, haven't
to
you?
ten.
It can't just be a leadership for leadership's sake. They've got to want it. So you
No.
have to be realistic.
But what do they think it is? Do you know what I mean? Because if it's, if it's their style, going back to what you said earlier and say, do you really love and, get off on people doing well around you?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're that type of character, they'll go, yeah, because the greater goal is I want to run a company and do this and, and they know that every single cog in that is important. But just the same way that I went 0 to 10 on someone's motivation, so if someone's motivation is 10, why don't you go and buy that thing now? I can't, so I have to take them through the steps.
Yeah.
So the next thing is I'll go, I still want to do that leadership role. Let's break down all the bits and add in those and coaching you for the future.
Yeah. So how do you distinguish these people at the moment when you're looking at people going, like they get it or they're the future stars? Because we all do it, don't we? We see people go, you're going to be fucking brilliant, and we don't. Whether they're a junior BDM or they're coming through the ranks or whatever it is, how do you do that on a leadership scale and go, I can see you leading people?
I don't know. The last sort of 3-4 years have been BDMs going to me. I never want to do your job, Jay. But
That's the thing, that's the trouble, and I get this when I get like
Yeah.
head of sales type positions where someone's going to step up. Like the actual step up means realistically a drop in your commission, because BDMs if you're a top BDM, you're getting paid really well. it means that you've got 10 other problems that you didn't have before. So that push is just very, like, that's what I mean. Like, and I know this will come across in
No,
the podcast. You've got to
the
want
way
it.
that you identify it, I've identified it. I've got an example in my mind of someone I've identified it with, called sort of, semi recently.
Yeah.
And you do actually, some of us that are old like me, and the others on this will have people that reach out from the industry and still want mentoring for these roles. So it is out there. BDMs in long term that have known me for years that go, can you take me through some scenarios and help me and all that? What I identify is when they're not going, it's about me. So they're willing to help one of their colleagues. So I've never league tabled any of my BDMs ever. Never will. Never do it. They league table themselves.
Yeah,
So
they know. They're BDMs.
they know.
Yeah,
They know.
salespeople, yeah.
So, but those ones who are even more willing to help their colleague when they're off or in those moments and all that, you can see that that's the trait of a leadership quality in there straight away. So it's the same way, I've done one of those videos this morning. No one wants bridging, but they want, so no one goes, they want leadership, but it's my job to see the qualities. They're not coming to me going, I want to be a leader, because they're basically going, I want your job, Jay.
Yeah.
But what they're going is, I'd like a little bit more responsibility here or that. And you can also see how they manage their firms in a weird way, because their jobs are called business development managers.
Yeah.
They are managing and developing the business they're in a different way. So how do they manage things? Are they really good at time chunking and all that? As soon as you identify all those areas, you go, yeah, you've got something in you. And it's not always the best ones.
And I completely agree, because you speak to some of the top BDMs, they're not interested in management at all. They've been offered it a million times, which is nuts, because they're not the right traits. And they'll be really honest and say, I'm not interested. I like doing my job. I'm good at it. I get paid really well for it. I don't want the pressure of the management. I don't want someone else. I don't want to rely on someone else for the commission, because, like you say, sales is a selfish job, because you've only got to worry about what you bring in. Whereas management,
BDMs,
everyone.
This is what BDMs are used to, and then this is where you can identify the others as well. They're used to control.
Yeah.
They control their own destiny. They control their own patch. They're used to quick wins, just like a broker would be used to a quick win with that lender. I'm going to give you all my next 5 cases. No, you're not, Mr. Broker, because someone else may have a different deal and do it. So it's quick wins with you. It's not transactional, but it's, and they're used to ego in reinforcing results. Mm-hmm. What the leadership is, if you've got a BDM that knows about and actually thinks about the company, and they're going, well, I'm going to do this in 12 months, and that's going to be good for the company and all that. That they're thinking long game.
Yeah.
That they're thinking about what, because leadership is slower gratification, always is. You'll train up someone today.
I know we keep talking about a generational thing, but the short-term gratification game is more prevalent now than it's ever been. So
Twitter's
that's another reason why.
Twitter's caused that.
Yeah. It's 100%. You're looking at how quickly people make money. But what my point is with that is that potentially is going to make it even harder to get leaders, right? Because you can't explain to someone. I say this all the time when I say to someone, if you want to do my job, if you work really, really hard for like 5 or 6 years, it does get easier. You do get paid for the first 5 or 6, but it does actually, it does start to smooth out a little bit, and you get to know enough people that trust you, and it's quite, it becomes enjoyable. You tell someone at 20 that you got to work really hard for 5 years to get an okay job. It's a tough gig. And now you add leadership to that and go, and it's actually 10 years before you get to the thing where, or whatever it is, timescales to get to where you want to be.
It feels like a lifetime away, doesn't it?
You're not. It's hard to sell, right? It's hard.
It's bloody hard to sell. It's bloody hard to sell, but it's those ones that have got that entrepreneurial spirit in them as well. Do you know what I mean? Because I think they can actually start thinking about what they want to do, and going up the ranks that way. So if they're hungry and they're going money in this way and all these different things, but if they're thinking the BDM job is going to be the best paid one they got, like you said, they probably won't earn as much commission when they're on that side. But if they can think, it's the ones that you maybe this is it, and I haven't thought about this, Marcus, but it's the ones who actually want to get past this leadership role into the next leadership role and CEO and all those things, and maybe that's rocket ship to the moon, but maybe this is where they'll send.
It's interesting because I think because of the status thing that we talked about earlier on, like I said, no shame in being an ego-driven business. That's just the nature of what financial services is. The next thing, it's like if I ever, God forbid, I ever call a senior BDM a BDM or a key account manager a RM. You know what I mean? Like it's a status thing, and obviously management is a status thing. So there was always going to be that pull.
It's better title, worse hours.
yeah. Call yourself what you want. It really doesn't matter. But But my point is that it seems obvious to people that that's the next stage. Like if you're moving, it feels sideways if you're moving to, say, a better job at the same title. But actually, management, like I said before, and I'll harp on about this through the whole series, but it's so much more of a calling than a step up in status that I think sometimes people think they want it until they actually have to. Like you made a good point, actually. I think we have to be more specific as to, right, this is actually what it is. Forget the title. This is what your day-to-day is. Do you want it? Because I think it'll put a lot of people off for the right reasons, and it also hopefully will bring up the people that go, actually, I want that. I can see myself doing that. I do want to help people. I do want to see the business grow.
Because some people, if you take them through that Myers-Briggs things and all those areas, some of the people are your blues, your caring people. Some people are just your ruthless reds going that. The reds, they're probably not your leaders per se and your trainers, because what is the job of a leader? I think is one of your questions you could be asking through the whole series, because it's many a hat, isn't it? It's about coaching, it's about managing targets, it's about hiring, it's about hiring the right person at the right time as well, at the right level of experience, because how long am I going to have them for? A year, or have I got 5 years to get them up to the level I want to? What is the ask? There's so many different hats you've got to put on, but I've always found that bit fun, because I love being really, really busy. I think I'm at my best when I'm really busy and probably just at that tipping point, because, of going, I have to think of loads of different things, and then I can coach in a moment or do this. And as long as they're quick enough with me and come along with it, that's...
Do you think you have to be
if you like that, that's a leadership role.
Yeah, that's a good trait. Do you think you have to be quite granular when it comes to leadership? Because, again, all I'm thinking about is all my flaws while we do these, by the way, because I speak to great sales managers, but... do you think
I'll give you my bill later on, yeah?
Yeah. One to one. They're the granular side of it that you do. When you boil down to specific people, like it is. It's time consuming, right? It's not the biggest part of your job, but it's the biggest part of their career progression.
Yeah, I think I always wrap people around me that are better than me in that sense. So when you say granular, I'm granular in those moments. I'll think I'll ring them now, and I'll get more phone calls in.
What I mean is, you think about how to improve someone's career.
On the granular little bits of that.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the data stuff all the time. I don't sit there on spreadsheets, because I've got someone who will then dashboard it for me, and I go, yeah, that's good. I understand that, because that's not me. That is just not me. The granular moments are when I can see someone say something and I pick up on the one word and I go, and I dig down from that.
Yeah.
I did a one-to-one earlier, and they said one word, and I think the word was, I want more. I went, yeah, okay, then what's that look like? Mm-hmm. What does more look like to you? Because it may look different to me. So let's take you down that one until we get to an actionable point of, okay, that's something. It's not to hang the hat on it. I just want to know what more looks like in their world compared to me.
Do you know, I interview people for a living, and that's whenever we've always said this, we assume way too quickly that we know what they're talking about. Well, progression. Well, what does that mean? Because progression for me is something very different from you, or a better job or better culture. What does culture look like for you? The actual, like you say, it's narrowing down on those points where they go. Otherwise, it's just buzzwords, isn't it? It's one-to-one buzzwords. Cool. You want more? Cool. We pick that up.
I've used this example so many times, but I think it's really pertinent for what we're talking about now. So I went through, I did one of those interviews years and years back. So this person may remember who they are when they do it, but they said, what do you want? Money, 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 money. And, the answers were money, 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 money. Yeah, all these money. And I went through their 60% CV, and I went through the hobbies at the bottom, and they had like 5 hobbies, and I was like, okay, cool. Which one of them? Which 4 of them are you giving up? All that sort of stuff. Money, 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 money. And that was the BDM I used to send emails to at 11 at night with opportunity and this, that, the other. And about 4 weeks later, they went, I'm knackered. I'm this, that, the other. And I said, well, I didn't mean to be emailing you, but you said you wanted money. I'm trying to go. But what I meant was, I wanted to do this. And I said, you didn't tell me that. I was managing you the way that you wanted to be managed. So it's all good. You're still doing really good, but
that's interesting.
So they don't tell the truth sometimes, the people that you interview, because they think it's what they want to hear.
You're trying to help people. At the same time, they are acutely aware that you have some level of control over their career, right? So if they could be as open with you as possible, obviously it's amazing. But you still have to fight the fact that you're still working with people that want to do the right thing by you as well. So it's tough to get you, because you still have to be a director, right? You still have to direct these people in the way. but at the same time,
I find that I find that really hard sometimes. And I think we've talked about this in private and public loads of times. That 2 seconds ago I was in my 20s, and now suddenly I've been called old in so many different ways this week. Experience. So you've been here for quite a while.
wise.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all of these terms, but you suddenly realise that when you actually are managing someone and they're in their 20s, they may be going, God, looking up to you in a certain way, but I'm on the level going, I'm trying to prove myself to them. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
weird in that sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I try and be really open. Be open with me, I can be open to you. Do you know what I mean? Open door.
I've always said this about you, about the people management skills. There's not hundreds of you that do that, because I think especially here, I want to talk about the new generation, but if you do go back to that old school of bash, 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 this is the way we do it. We're going to lose so many people. There's already a skills gap in the market. It's going to get bigger unless we start looking at it that way a bit more empathetically and go, how can I help you? How can I move your career on, as opposed to that.
I think I've always been newer, so the bit that you probably fit us into, someone who could probably still fit, and I hope, hopefully do, and I do fit now. So I haven't gone on that to develop too many, but I have got still some old traits which I have to keep on reminding me about stuff, which, I have to go, is that now appropriate how to lead people, and how do I need to change now? I'll be frank and honest about some of them. I have worked. I'd always want to be that last person emailing or doing this and doing that. It was about too much hard work. Well, guess what? And I still find it hard when I go on holiday and I want to release the pressure, and I'll have a look at my emails and I'll just fire one across because I think that's an opportunity I could lose to a competitor if I see it in a week's time. It's definitely dead, But I have to try and remember, and I've never asked them to, that people go on holidays and turn off their phone, and I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, but do you know what? I'm the same as you. I'm of the same ilk, and you described it really well. I'm going to start using that. The actual checking your emails on holiday is relieving the pressure, because I get more stressed about not knowing what's going on when I could just simply do something. And also, it's not real work, is it? We're sat by a fucking sun lounger, do you know what I mean? And then swimming pool on your phone. You know what I mean? And people go like,
But no one's got a gun out to our
I
heads.
know, exactly. Yeah, people wear it like a badge of honour. I work on holiday, but it's for that reason. I'm less stressed knowing what's going on.
My wife's always said to me, just take that half an hour, just do it, and just go and just do those emails, and I'll go, yeah, and half an hour invariably comes over time. Everyone's wired differently, and I would never expect anyone to do that. But if I see them doing that, then they do that. Do you know what I mean? And I'm never the one to pull them up and do that. I think sales is different to different roles. It totally is. That's why they get paid sometimes more.
Yeah. And we are in stressful jobs as well, right? But I think that's an old school mentality of the holiday thing. Like I expect people to take their work, turn their work. I was going to say take their work phone, turn their work phone off. That was a Freudian slip. I expect them to turn it off on holiday because they do need, like, if you don't come back refreshed, I come back more refreshed knowing I've done a bit of work. If that's not the way you do business, if that's not the way you work, and you're still stressed because something's gone on, it's not.
And we are very much a business here at MS Lending Group that is 9 to 5:30, 9 to 5 on a Friday and all that. Guess what? I work longer. Michael and Alex would never ask me to. They never see it. But guess what? I love it. I care and I want to. Others, your job is that we should be able to fit it. For everybody that I can see out here now at the moment, they should be able to fit it in between 9 and 5:30. Otherwise, do we need more people, or do we need to help train them from efficiency? We're back into those leadership things again now. Do I need to help them with processes? Do I need to... Another quality of leadership is like, I don't throw more FTE at it. I actually find out if I can make that process more efficient or do things, or there's lots of that.
Amazing. So if I am a younger, everyone's younger than us. If I'm a younger BDM at the moment who thinks, do you know what, that's a bit of me. What's the one bit of advice that you could give that you think would kind of set them in the right path for leadership?
I would, first of all, think this. Who's the best manager that they've ever worked for? And what makes them a good manager or leader, in that sense, and why? And then try and shape themselves on that, because new managers, if they're thinking they're going to go in it and treat themselves like the BDM, they'll micromanage the hell out of the other BDMs. They will. So they've got to think of where the best manager is and why they think that's good qualities, and then really delve into what those qualities look like going forward. So, everyone's on ChatGPT these days, yeah? Instead of having to read those books on leadership, each one of them is like that could be done to that. put in people's names like Mike Weinberg, and go and find out how he teaches people how to be leaders. Go into and just put what's the best leadership books and get them to chunk it into it. And then go and read about those qualities and think if they ask themselves if they've got those qualities or if they need to lean on someone like, me or someone in the industry and go, how would you do this? And that's the way that they'll learn. And by that time, they'll either go at the end of it, don't want to do that, but at least they've explored it, or they'll go, really want to do that, and this is how I'm going to build it up. Quite a long answer, but probably not
sense.
a bit different.
Learn about it, right? Because, like you say, it's not just a title; it's much more of a calling. So you need to know that you actually want it. Amazing, thank you, mate. I appreciate your time as always. If anyone wants to go, obviously all your socials will be on our socials as always. But if anyone wants to speak to you about this sort of thing, even like I know you're happy to speak to people about like the mentoring and that kind of thing, and just kind of I know you're big on pushing people's careers. What's the best way to get hold of you?
Yeah, so you can contact me through LinkedIn. Direct messaging is probably the best. So Jamie Pritchard on there. I'm generally talking about bridging or DJing. Um, or Instagram, Jamie Property Funding, or just Jamie Pritchard at mslendinggroup.co.uk.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it as always, Jay. Good to speak to you. And hopefully, thanks for everyone listening. Hopefully, hopefully everyone got something from that. I think this series is going to be important. I think there's a good, there's some good people coming on and really kind of delving into this because it's another pain point for our industry, right? So thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Cheers.
Thank you.
See you soon.